I never think that I will do such a job as a guard, that too in a cemetery. But when you do not have money, you do everything that you have never thought of, and only because of money, I accepted that job to Necropolis. So one night, while browsing the web for job, I received an ad, and I click on it, and it takes me to a strange website that looks like it's from a 13-year-old child. The child has created that website, and he leave his mail on the website, in which he mentioned that if you want this job, you can mail us. I mail him that I want this job, because the money to be given was quite high, only for a guard job. Then within 5 minutes, I got a reply that, okay, we will call you next week for this interview. Well, for a week I had forgotten that I had even sent something like this. Then suddenly I got a message. There is a call that are you ready for the interview? Then I remembered that I had done some kind of form, and then I was ready. I was very happy, and I go to the cemetery for the interview. Well, it was not very far. It was only 20 minutes away from my house, so I did not have to do much distance. I park my car, and then I see a man there who is very tall. He has a slightly wrinkled face, and he is a little ugly, and his name is Mr. Damien, with elegant black suit, black pants, black shoes. He welcomes me there and tells me that he is the owner of this cemetery, and that this cemetery is passed on from his ancestors, that is belonged to his family long ago, and after him his children took over the work of their father. But now I was feeling a scary vibe from him, but I am not the type to judge others just by their appearance. But there was something wrong in him. He walked with a limp, talked with a slowly gasp, and was void of expression. It was as if he was not human, just looking like a human. Well, obviously I am in the cemetery room, so maybe there's vibe is like this. Now he was showing me whole cemetery, and he was asking me some questions, which were very ordinary questions, so normal that no one asks such normal questions in an interview. Now we had almost seen whole cemetery. Then he asks me one last question. Do you believe in the afterlife, Mr. Musk? But I answered with honesty, no, I don't think anything like this happens. Well, as I tell him the answer, he nods his head a little. He shakes with me, and then gives me an overview, then back to the entire cemetery. Let me tell you, the cemetery is surrounded by 7 foot, meaning protect has been done. No one come there is only one way to come, is in the middle of the entrance gate. There are 2 things between a cemetery, a small chapel, and opposite to it. There is a big, luxurious-looking mausoleum, a little inside, and the chapel was very dirty with full of spiders. It was as if no one had touched it for centuries, and the mausoleum was very different from the chapel. There was a clean and well-maintained environment in a mausoleum. Apart from these, there were grace between them. After showing all this, finally I was shown the place where I will spend my most of the time, the guard house. Basically, there was a small room with windows overlooking the entrance of the cemetery. In the guard room, there was a chair, a table, and a vintage dresser. There was a clock on the wall and a hanger where you could put your jacket, and a washroom. Then Mr. Damien tells me that you can enjoy your whole day and start your shift from night, which was from 10 p.m. The next day I sit in taxi came to cemetery at 10 p.m. Now when I am going to my guard room, I'm feeling very strange. I will not say that I am scared. I have no reason to be afraid, but still I was getting a strange feeling. It was as if Mr. Damien had not given me proper and sufficient information, and on top of that, when I was doing this, I was not required to sign any contracts. Anything like what I had during my previous job, many contracts were signed. But there were no contracts here, no information, just showed a sanitary, but there was no use. I had already accepted. He was paying me well, so thoughts are okay now, let's see what happens. I reach my room and meet the other security guard, whose shift was in daytime. He was just finishing his shift. Then guard gives me 4 keys. To begin with, a chapel, a mausoleum, a guard room, and a cemetery entrance. Now I am in the guardhouse. I enter, and I see that there is a paper lying there. I pick it up and try to read it, and it is written in it that your shift is from 10 o'clock to 6 a.m., and you have to follow these rules to continue your job. Rule number 1 is the cemetery closed at 12 p.m. No visitors are allowed to enter after that. Then, after 12 o'clock, take a round around the entire cemetery, and if you see any visitor is in the cemetery, then take them out immediately from there. Rule number 2, when the clock strikes 1 a.m., a tall bald man with dark brown eyes and a white coat will stand right at the entrance gate of cemetery. You should let that man enter inside the cemetery. You don't need to talk with him. He will not trouble you. Rule number 3. Between 1:50 a.m. you will hear as if an organ is being played inside the chapels and the lights are flickering inside the chapel. Do not worry. Don't be afraid. You have nothing to worry about. But do not go inside the chapel at this time. Rule number 4. You may hear noise from mausoleum at that time during your shift. Do not approach the mausoleum during that time. No matter what noise and how loud you hear them, they will eventually subside on its on rule number 5. Around 2 a.m. you will feel like someone is knocking to your door. Open the door, and you will either be greeted by a weeping girl or a disfigured male if the cause of the knocking is a weeping girl. Escort her to the mausoleum and make sure to lock the door after she enters the mausoleum. But if it is the disfigured male who is the cause of knocking on the door, then close the guardhouse door and lock it the moment. Either turn your head away from all windows or close your eyes and wait until the knocking comes to full stop. Only then you can resume your shift like nothing happened. Rule number 6. If the weeping girl knocks on the door and the voice is also from mausoleum, then let the girl enter the guardhouse instead and wait until you no longer hear any noises coming from the mausoleum. Then refer back to rule number 5, rule number 7. Come what may, don't stay in the guardhouse after 4:20 a.m. Then you are free to do anything, but during this time, you will feel that someone is watching you or someone is keeping an eye on you. At any moment, run into a few people roaming around grave sites. If this is the case, avoid eye contact. Don't contact or interact with those people at all. Caste, then you are allowed back into the guardhouse by 4:50 a.m. rule number 8. Enter the guardhouse by 5 a.m. At this point, you are not allowed anywhere else outside of the main room of guardhouse, not even the bathroom. If for some reason you do not reach in the guardhouse before 5 a.m., then run into the chapel and lock the door behind you. Inside the chapel, search for the bald man and remain close to him all the times. Do not talk to him or touch him in any way. Simply stay within conversing distance of him. He will not harm you if you stay away from him. Rule number 9. By 6 a.m. open the gates of the cemetery and waits for the next security guard to take over. Your shift is not over until the next guard arrives or until it's 8 a.m. Rule number 10. If no guard arrives by 8 a.m., you are free, but you have tell that bald man in chapels that no guard has taken over yet. Once he acknowledges that, you are free to leave until your next shift begins. That's it. Follow these rules with full attention if you want to be safe. I was not able to understand anything. These are such strange rules. I am just sitting in the chair and reading all this back. All this cannot be real. Whatever this is very strange, and after reading this, I decide that I will follow all these rules. Maybe they are testing me. They want to see me. Now I am sitting in the cemetery. My shift has started, and I do the same as in the rules. It is written that once there, the cemetery closed. Then I have go and check to see if there is anyone else there. Well, there is no one there. I come back and sit in my guardhouse. Now I'm sitting in my room and listening to normal radio. Then I feel that a tall man has come to the entrance. I'm not able to understand why no one would come to the cemetery at this time of night. Then I remember the things written on the paper. I pick up the paper and start reading rule number 2. As I read rule 2, I am getting a very strange feeling. I was feeling that all of them are testing me whether I follow the rules or not, but testing to such an extent that everything is real. Well, I get up from my chair, I go out and I open the gate. Just like I opened the gate, I have seen the man and I can tell that he is exactly as he is written on the paper. He was taller than I expected, and his clothing made me thinking that he was a gravekeeper. After walking into the cemetery, he made his way to the chapel, where I saw him unlock the door and disappear into the darkness inside. After seeing all this, I was scared because my heart was beating very fast. I was sweating the whole time, and I was not stopping sweating, and my mind was begging me to just run away from here and never come back here. Something felt off. He didn't make any sound. He didn't blink. It was like I was standing right next to a ghost. Now I ignore all the feelings I was having because I don't pay any attention to them. Thinking this, I go back to my guardhouse. Now I am sitting in my room. Then I hear the sound of such an organ. This music type is some tune which is coming from the chapels. I was hearing this tune clearly while I was sitting in my guardhouse. This tune is not normal. It was a tune like a haunting melody type. After listening to it, it felt as if I was having panic attacks. I was pampering myself to keep myself calm. I try to look a little towards the chapel. Well, I don't see anything special. The lights inside the chapels are just flickering. I'm not able to understand anything. Now all this is going on, and suddenly someone knocks to my door. In the beginning, I am very scared. I go a little closer to door and open the door. As soon as I open the door, I see a girl standing in front of me because she is crying a lot. Her face is covered with tears. I gather courage and go to her and start taking her towards mausoleum. Now we reach there. I quickly open the mausoleum door, and I'm just standing outside, and I see that the girl has gone inside it. It is so dark inside that after some time the girl is not visible at all. I quickly lock the door and come back towards my guardhouse, and only rules are running in my mind which I have to follow. Now it's 4:20 in the morning. I come out of the guardhouse. As soon as I come out, I have a very strong feeling as if someone is watching me. He is watching my every move. I have such a feeling. I was feeling as if someone is keeping an eye on me, is a hunter, and I am his prey. Then I feel as if I saw a figure which is near the grave store, but as soon as I tried to look carefully, there is no one there. Is it all a hallucination in my mind? Was there really something there that I just saw? Well, now it was just 5 minutes to 5 o'clock when I went to my guardhouse. And after coming back to the guardhouse, I get a little relief that I accomplished my first day now at 6 o'clock clock, and now it was morning, so now I was feeling better. I go out, open the gate of the cemetery, and just wait for the next security guard to come. As soon as he comes, I give him the keys, and I go to chapel and tell that bald man that security guard had come, and now I'm going home. While driving, I'm thinking of only one thing, that Necropolis has a dark secret behind it, and I decided to find each and every mystery about this cemetery. But for now, I am going to rest because I have to sleep, and at night, I have to go again to my job.